Thanks for the reminder, Nandan.
Got it. I've updated the title. The reminder for tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, well, welcome everyone. We're going to get started. Thank you again for joining SLI Unpacked. I'm excited to see so many of you join, and I know that there are many others who registered but want the recording after because they have work conflicts. So really just excited to see so much interest in the third year of SABA Leadership Institute. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about sort of some of the key aspects of the program, and then we are going to have 4 of our previous fellows share 2 to 3 minutes of their experience in the program, and then we will open it up to all of you for questions. And we have 4 additional fellows from both the class of 21 and 22 that will be able to answer the questions you have based on the experiences they've had in the program. So hopefully we will be able to sort of move through all this quickly, and it's scheduled for 30 minutes. We can go a little bit longer if necessary, or we can end when the questions end, but let's get started. So first, again, thank you for being here. The SABA Leadership Institute was launched in 2021, and we just completed our 2nd class. And as you are all aware, are in the process of recruiting for our 3rd class, which will be the class of 2023. SABA Leadership Institute has really been a labor of love from a lot of people within SABA. That includes the founders, which are not just me, but also Lalita Ganturi and Kavita Babu, our many facilitators we've had, the SABA leadership, including many board members, our speakers, mentors, and so many others who we've tapped for input and advice along the way in the last 2 years. So it continues to be a program that is built by us and is for us. And I think hopefully you'll hear from the experiences of the fellows that have joined us today, that it was a valuable experience, and that they did sort of learn a lot from the program. I know sort of as a facilitator and a founder and being a fellow in the first year, I have learned a lot that has changed how I have looked at my career and my future impact in the world. And so hopefully those stories will come across in the conversation today. So I just want to cover a few of the key aspects of the program. The first are leadership development sessions. So each month as part of the program, and it's an 8-month program, fellows have a 90-minute leadership development session that is focused on a key aspect of leadership for mid-career attorneys. Typically at those sessions, we have an expert speaker and several seasoned SABA attorneys that join the conversation to take what was shared by the mentor or by the expert speaker and provide their real life experience of how they have interacted and engaged with that issue. So these leadership development sessions, which again are 90 minutes, are mandatory. They happen once a month and are really the place where you are getting the substantive educational component of the program. The topics that are listed here are the topics that we covered in the class of 2022. We will likely cover many of the same topics. However, if you've already applied, you've noticed that we ask for your feedback on topics that you think will be helpful to you. And so we will modify these leadership development sessions based on those that are selected to the class and their preferences. As I mentioned, in those leadership development sessions, you get access to expert speakers. This slide shows some of the speakers that we have had in 2021 and 2022. As you can see, some of them participated in both years. They may come back for year 3. Some we sort of mixed up, and the point I'd like to make here is that this program is continually evolving. And as I've said to those who are fellows, they've heard me say this a million times, but we're sort of building the plane as we fly it. And we are trying to make sure that this program grows and changes to match the needs of our mid-career attorneys as we go. So this will be another area where we may have some of these same speakers. We may bring in new speakers for 2023. You also, in those leadership development sessions, get access to seasoned SABA mentors. So these are individuals who have 20+ years of experience. They are from different areas of practice and different types of employers. They offer sort of that candid conversation and their insights that they've experienced in their lives. We don't do one-on-one matching with mentors in the SABA Leadership Institute. Rather, these mentors come to the leadership development sessions, share their experiences, and all of them commit to being available to fellows for conversations afterwards so that fellows can create organic relationships with seasoned SABA attorneys as makes sense for themselves. In addition to the leadership development sessions, each month there is either a coffee break or a happy hour, just one or the other in each month. These are optional, but I will say from a historical perspective, most fellows attended these optional sessions. In these coffee breaks and happy hours, we spend time sort of diving into the topic we covered at the leadership development session and talking about how it resonated and what the fellows thought about those topics. And then we have additional topics, again, sourced from the application process, where we just have candid conversations. A lot of these are done in breakout groups to create sort of smaller groups. Another way that we create smaller groups, and I can't believe I forgot to make a slide for this, but we do it in the program. After every leadership development session, we have a homework assignment and accountability buddies. So in between these sessions, you have opportunities to come together with smaller groups of fellows to continue the conversation and work through a project on each of the topics. And it really is sort of in these coffee breaks and happy hours and the accountability groups where the smaller conversations and the camaraderie of the class is really formed. Like I said, this is a safe space. We work really hard to ensure that individuals feel comfortable sharing and really learning from each other and growing together with each other. So we have guiding principles that govern sort of the program, including sort of being 100%, like not being on your phone, not being like connected to your email and your Outlook and sending responses. We encourage folks to listen respectfully, speak when they would like to. That always by invitation means we're not going to force anyone to speak on any given topic. We really want people to feel comfortable speaking out on their own. We encourage folks not to be fixers and not try to solve everyone's problems, because not all problems have a solution that needs to be discussed. Sometimes this program is purely used for venting, and we are supportive of that. We ask fellows to set aside their judgments, to recognize when they are making assumptions, to speak their truth. And then when things get difficult or you disagree with someone, to sort of turn to wonder and come at it from the perspective of the fellow that is sharing their experience, and give them grace and latitude to share what is happening in their lives. And again, we ask that all fellows maintain confidentiality. So over time in both classes that we have had so far, we have really gotten to this safe space where individuals feel comfortable. And not everyone has to feel comfortable speaking out in a leadership development session with the full class. We've seen people who are much more comfortable speaking out in small groups and really making connections in the accountability homework. So really, it is up to you how you want to use the sessions, when you want to talk, how you want to share your experiences with the other fellows in the class. Another key part of the program is the capstone project. And if any of you follow me on LinkedIn, you saw that I posted today sort of an outline of the capstones that were done by the class of 2022. Really, we just ask everyone to put together a presentation in some form or fashion. There is no sort of limit or rule as to what it needs to look like, about what their world looks like in the future. What do they want their impact to be? And to really take the experiences that you have throughout the SLI program and put that towards sort of building a path forward for yourself. So we've had individuals do podcasts, letters, magazine articles, book covers. I'm looking at Raj on the screen. He did a really great sort of role-playing exercise of where he goes in the future. Ravi did a podcast. Saloni also did an excellent podcast. You know, those are just some of the sort of examples, and I will sort of, if you have questions about the capstone, let the fellows talk directly about their work there. Just as a last slide, this is the process for applications this year. The first deadline for applications is October 21st, 2022. I will tell all of you candidly that we will be extending that for one more week, as we often do in SABA, regardless of how many people apply. So the real deadline will be October 28th, 2022. Then in order to become a part of the program, you need to go through an interview process. Those will be held the week of November 7th. You will be notified if you are selected to the program by November 23rd. We'll have a virtual welcome reception for the class of 23 on December 8th, and then the program will officially start in January. I've included the link to apply, and we will share these slides with everyone who has joined this call today. The last thing I will say, the really, really last thing I will say is that we are hoping to take a class of between 16 and 20 this year. The previous classes have both been 16 individuals, but we're hoping that if we have the right mix of folks, we can take up to 20 this year, with the goal of just sort of experimenting and seeing if we can create the same camaraderie and experience for fellows with 20 rather than 16, because it will allow us as SABA to get more people to the program and allow them to have access to this education and leadership opportunity. So I will stop there and turn it over to our fellows to sort of talk a little bit about their experiences. And Raj, if I could turn to you to go first, that would be great.
Sure, absolutely. You know, the way Priya mentioned the program, it was created by us and for us. And I think that really resonates with why SLI is so unique. There is something so special about being with other South Asian attorneys who are in mid-career, grappling with the same issues that you're dealing with. What is my purpose? What is my passion? How do I balance my family? How do I amplify my impact? You know, I've done leadership programs in the legal community and then community leadership development programs, but there was nothing that combined them as well as the SABA SLI program does. So it is 5 out of 5 on the caliber and quality of the work that goes on. I also really like that the program is very structured. I mean, you know upfront what every date is. It's very organized. You know what to expect. And between the leadership development sessions, the coffee or happy hours, and so it was just very easy as a busy attorney to be able to know what your expectations are and how to get the most out of the program. What I really liked as well throughout the leadership development sessions is the right balance between kind of having the group together and then breaking out into small groups. You know, as Priya mentioned, I'm someone who actually thrived in kind of the smaller group settings or the one-on-one accountability sessions. And so the program is structured in a way to really allow your own personality and your own style to shine. And so you still feel part of the group, you still develop those strong relationships. And I thought the way that they melded those together was really outstanding. And next is the quality of speakers is unmatched. It's 100% clear the amount of preparation the speakers do pre-session is very high. And just the candidness of the speakers and their commitment to help us improve and increase our impact and whatever we want to do was so obvious and so evident. You know, in these sessions, you really feel like these people are there to help you and be your cheerleader. And so the quality was just so high, and the thoughtfulness in who they selected really was outstanding. And then finally, my favorite part was the small group accountability sessions. It really became like in conversations that you would have, long conversations. I mean, yes, there were homework assignments to talk about, how are you going to improve this in your workplace, or what are you going to do in the community, but really became a great chance to just talk with someone on the phone. And really all of them ended up being like a great hour-long conversation where you just want to talk to someone and just bounce ideas off. And it just ended up being by far the best aspect of the program. And so as these conversations are going, it really does help create a better safe space throughout the leadership development program, and really brought us all together as a class. And in fact, through these accountability sessions, when I was able to travel to New York or DC, I was able to meet my SABA classmates in real life, which really added an additional amazing dimension to the program. And then finally, as mid-career professionals, you're probably grappling with a lot of things. Where do I want to be professionally? How do I fit it? Where's my place in the world? And I went from this program probably at the lowest level of professional confidence to leaving this program at the highest level of professional confidence. And so there really are phenomenal outcomes that come from this program. And I'm just very, very happy to have been part of it.
Awesome, Raj. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. And just since we're recording this, I want to be able to answer the questions that are coming through the chat on the video so that others have an opportunity to hear the answers. But one question was, I assume most sessions are in person. Actually, and I should have clarified this up front, the majority of the program is virtual. And will continue to be virtual since we are bringing together individuals from across North America. There is one in-person reception at the SABA conference each summer, but outside of that, it's all virtual and you can take it from wherever you are. The other question was whether this is open to law students or only those that are practicing. This program is intended to reach individuals who have 10 to 15 years of legal experience. So it would not be open to law students, but it is something that I hope they will get on their radar. And when they get to 10 to 15 years, I hope the program will still be here as a resource for them. So with that, Ravi, I'll turn it to you to share your experience.
Thanks, Priya. I think Raj really hit a lot of the salient points. For me, probably the best part was really the interaction with my fellows in the in SLI. I was in the class of 2022, and for some of the things that Raj highlighted, sort of being in a cohort of fellow South Asian attorneys, sort of mid-career South Asian attorneys, was especially helpful to discuss and talk through not just sort of professional issues through the accountability sessions. And Priya and everyone did a great job of enforcing sort of the proverbial safe space through the guiding principles that facilitated the ability to have, I think, very nuanced discussions about the intersectionality of cultural aspects of being South Asian with various professional issues and professional choices that we are confronted with. And I thought this is what made this program especially unique as opposed to other leadership programs that might otherwise be out there. So to me, that was a highlight. I had an opportunity to meet folks in person, like Raj, when he was visiting. The virtual nature of it, allowing us to form this connection with people from across the United States and Canada was, I thought, especially salient to learn a diverse set of experiences that are both regional and professionally diverse. So I found that incredibly beneficial and reflective. The speakers were also great, and they were, to their credit, very willing to speak with those after. As an example, one of the speakers, who I think was one of the founders of SABA, is a DOJ attorney. He's an AUSA in Texas and was a former National Security Division attorney. And so we connected and just had a great discussion after. And that was just one example of the personalization that this program affords. For me, the structured nature of providing the program in advance, so you knew the dates, was also especially helpful. I worked for the government in a secure facility, so I don't have access to Zoom or some of these platforms during business hours. But by knowing when those sessions were in advance, the coffee sessions or professional sessions that occur during sort of business hours. I was able to plan around that well in advance so that the logistical challenges would not sort of prevent my ability to participate in those sessions. So I thought from a logistical and structural standpoint, it was very well organized. But for me, the greatest value was an opportunity to be a part of such an impressive group of people, and to develop those relationships and to reflect on not just our sort of professional issues, which we all as sort of people 10 to 15 years may be facing, but the intersectionality of the cultural dynamics I thought was especially interesting and salient to me. And so that was it. And I'm happy to share my email in the chat and talk to anyone who may be interested further. So that's it. And definitely encourage everyone to, if you have not already, to apply.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ravi. And thanks for dropping your email in the chat. And if other fellows from previous years are willing to do the same, please do so. And Mala, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. I just remember being in your position as well, thinking about applying, and some of the concerns that I had, which were like the time commitment and if you could make it and balance everything. And I just really parallel that to, like, you know, when you go to a gym or sign up for a trainer, the more you put into it is the more you're going to get out of it. And I hate going to the gym, but after you go, you never regret it. You love it. And so there were days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a million things to do. The last thing I need to do is like 2-hour Zoom that you can't be on anything else. And afterwards, like, no matter who the speaker was, I just felt so inspired and lighter in some way. And that says a lot, because nobody really wants to go work on their LinkedIn page, but I did. And I think that was one of the first sessions that we had. And it just seemed like every session just got better and better. And of course, all of the friendships and the connections that you made in that safe space, I feel are really invaluable. Sometimes at work or even in our community, we don't always have that, where you can just speak openly and everybody's there without an angle. It's just to support each other. And you really get some amazing feedback that's so helpful. So that was huge. And it also helped me even to just get more involved both in SABA and immigration, and because I'm an immigration lawyer. And that's been a huge stepping stone. So those friendships that started off with SLI, because I wasn't that involved with SABA before, have just grown to even more SABA friendships that are invaluable in terms of both networking and just, helping our community. I definitely wanted to echo Raj's comment about professional confidence. I had worked at a firm and then taken a lot of years off, and was kind of coming back, finding my own path, doing, had my own practice and also of counsel at a firm. But definitely my professional confidence increased a great deal going through this, and just being, held accountable and on a path forward, and really getting a lot of clarity on what I wanted out of my career and goals in life. So I think that's what really makes SLI really impactful, because I think you could really make a huge change in your life and in your career. So I would really encourage everyone to apply. Don't regret it one day.
We don't regret having you in the program single day as well. So Nandu, can you share a little bit of your experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the unenviable task of coming after all of these great speakers who frankly have hit the nail on the head. So I don't know how much more I could say about the program, but I'll talk a bit about my personal kind of journey through the program and why I kind of applied and what I got out of it. And so I was hitting my 10, 11 years of practice, whatever it was, and I felt like I was checking all the boxes and doing everything that I was supposed to do. I was an associate at a firm. I went to government, did all the stuff I was supposed to do there. And, I was a counselor and advisor, going to all the right places. And I just hit a point where I was like, what's next? And I had no idea. I remember I went into an interview for a managerial position at my agency. And I thought I would have a good answer to all those questions. But as I sat down, I realized that the questions that I was supposed to answer were totally different than the questions I've been answering in every other interview to that date, because it was really about how are you going to lead? What kind of leader are you? And truly, I didn't fully understand exactly what kind of leader I wanted to be, who exactly I wanted to be as a leader, and really what I wanted out of my career at that point. I was actually just a bit rudderless at the moment, which is why I applied for SLI. And truly, it was a combination of things. It was frankly just meeting everyone in the program, having an opportunity to chat with people, having those small breakout opportunities and hearing other people's stories, going through those leadership sessions. Some of it is about leadership, but some of it is about diverse leadership and what that means, and understanding that and kind of taking those lessons and refracting it through my own sort of story and thinking about, how do I want to be? What kind of diverse leader do I want to be? And how do I value diversity in my kind of in my practice and how I kind of manage other people? And putting it all together, it's funny at the end, I had ideas of where I was going to go. I actually didn't end up doing those things. I ended up doing something very different. I thought I would continue in government in a different position, but I ended up going to private practice. But truthfully, with every move I made, I had intention, I had focus, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I knew why I wanted to do it. When I had conversations with people about what I was going to do next with my career, it just synced. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And truthfully, whether I continue on this path, whether I go somewhere else, I feel fine. I feel fine because I know exactly what I want for myself and for what I want for my future, and what I want for my career. That's what this program gave me. It gave me a sense of vision, sense of purpose, sense of intention that I was kind of missing. And I think that's just kind of what happens when you've gone through your 10, 11 years of practice. You've learned all the things you're supposed to learn as an attorney. You've kind of mastered your trade a bit, and now you're starting to think about how do you want to really, really kind of make an impact in this world. And this program did a lot to help me out with that. And last but not least, really the connections I made here. It was seeing some of the people at the convention who we've been kind of hanging out with on Zoom for 6 months, and seeing them in person. It was just such a delight, and to get to know the people in the program was just incredible. So glad I did it, and highly recommend it. The last thing I'll say, because I know a few people touched on the time commitment, I will say I was in the middle of the trial during the entire time I was doing this program. I was kind of working basically from like 8 a.m. till midnight every day. Still was able to do this, and you can fit it in. It's not impossible. You can find the time to do this, and it's worth finding the time to do this if you can.
Thanks, Nandu. I appreciate everyone's comments. I think, that everything you guys were saying was reflecting how I felt as I went through the program as well. And now we have 4 fellows who have joined us who will take all your questions, including some of them that have started in the chat. So Dinesh, maybe if you could just introduce yourself really quickly. I'll go through all 4 of you and allow you to do that, and then we'll start with the questions.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Dinesh Kumar. I'm based in the DC area. I am an attorney at the Food and Drug Administration, and I was in the most recent class of 2022.
Great. And Abhiman?
Hey everyone, Abhiman Rajadurai, labor and employment attorney in-house here at McDonald's Corporation in Chicago, Illinois, as in the original class in 2021.
Raghav?
Hi, I'm Raghav. I'm a partner in the IP group at Haynes & Boone in Austin, and I was part of the inaugural SLI class of 2021.
And Saloni.
Hi there, I'm Saloni Mavani. I'm based out of Seattle, and I'm a neutral. I arbitrate and mediate commercial and employment disputes.
Great. And sorry, I'm just trying to pin everyone so you guys can see everyone that is answering these questions. Okay, there's all 4 of you. And I think if you guys have it in speaker view, you should be able to see all 4 of them pinned. So I want to sort of take one of the questions that is in the chat, and that is from Jomi on how do fellows or potential fellows contribute to or enrich the program outside of active participation. So I'm thinking, you know, if you guys could share some of your experiences of how you interacted with fellows or speakers or mentors outside of the structured sort of sessions that we had, and how you sort of supported each other, I think that could be a helpful response. Anyone is welcome to go first. I know you're all like looking at each other.
I'm happy to go.
Okay, great.
So
Saloni.
I think that one of the big advantages of the program was the accessibility to Indian lawyers across the country. And I think oftentimes, we may know of people and may know of their paths and their experiences at a very generic or general level. And so, I had the opportunity to connect with lawyers that were introduced through the program and, kind of take it a step further. And they were all very kind of welcoming and supportive and, helpful to provide perspective and experience. So I think, it's the program provides the connection and makes lots of different resources accessible and available. And then I think some of the connections I made are, long-term throughout my career. The other quick thing I was going to share, one of my favorite things was kind of the LinkedIn. We had the strategic session with a LinkedIn expert. And really, to me, it was eye-opening on the value of, your brand and, well beyond your LinkedIn page. But a lot of the fellows that that were in my accountability group, we really helped each other. So, oftentimes you don't have that, right? You don't have someone at work or even personally that's going to give you a second opinion or give you some ideas in terms of your professional networking page.
Yeah, and I will just say, I think that, just from hearing conversations from fellows through both years, that process was really invaluable, because it's not often you get someone that will say, hey, you totally missed talking about this great thing that you do or this great skill that you have, and really just allows you to sort of supplement what you've put together as your brand and realize strengths that you have that the outside world sees that you may not sort of acknowledge or recognize within yourself. So it definitely provides for that. So Saloni, thank you for taking that question. Dinesh, Raghav, or Abhiman, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll let you.
No, okay, go ahead.
I
echo a lot.
Yeah, one of
We
the
both
things
figured it
outside of the program that I think is most impactful for me were the lessons that I learned. And one of the ones that sticks out in my mind was learning about mentorship and sponsorship, and especially at this point in my career, how I can be an effective mentor, how I can be an effective sponsor. So I'm not necessarily helping out the program going forward, but I'm helping out my firm, my colleagues, people in my community, and sort of making sure that the lessons that I learned don't just stop at me, but continue to help other people that I know, and frankly, how I can be a better mentee with people that are mentoring me or sponsoring me. So that is what I've taken away. That's just one of the programs, but the whole run of the year has helped me tremendously in my past year and a half that I've been that I've been an SLI alum, I guess.
Yeah, Abhiman, did you have something to add to this one?
I was just going to say, tacking on to the LinkedIn comments, like we see, you know, what our class is up to and things like that. There have been some promotions, job switches. People have just reached out. Our class was just, you know, very close, and just like, hey, I'm thinking about switching, you know, to an in-house, or I'm thinking about, you know, moving to this part of the country. So I think we've stayed in touch that way, and that was built on kind of the connections that happened. So I think that's kind of continuing to enrich what the program is going forward.
Great. And
And then
Dinesh,
just
oh yeah.
Yeah, just real quickly, but when I was looking at Jomi's question, about like sort of what do the fellows bring to the table? Just one other point I wanted to add was I was just so impressed by the mix of experiences that the fellows had. I think the folks who selected the fellows did a really great job of making sure that there was a really interesting mix of people who were at firms, who are in-house, who are at nonprofits, who are at government agencies, both federal and state government agencies, and had that mix of experience and from 10 to 15 plus years, and had different ways of looking at like their own leadership abilities, and so I think just being who they are is really what the fellows like brought to the table that really enhanced it, I think.
Great, thank you for raising that point. And it sort of gets to the question in the chat from Ketal Patel about what is the admission committee looking for in the application process and experience of prospective candidates. And I will take that one, and then I will turn to all of you for Deb's question in the chat. So if you can start thinking through an answer for that, that would be great. But in terms of what we're looking for, as Dinesh mentioned, we sort of curate a class that has a balance of individuals from across North America. So we look at geography. We look for a mix of employment, so government, in-house, firm, people who may be practicing alternative, like have left the law and are doing alternative things like policy or running businesses. We also look at sort of the group dynamic, right? And that can be hit or miss, but we've hit it on the nose both years, where we try to find a mix of introverts and extroverts, people who are comfortable talking in big groups, people who prefer small groups, and really try to balance out the personalities within the class. So unfortunately, those sort of abilities to curate a balanced class do tend to sort of pan out in different ways. So for example, in both years, we had the most applications from SABA DC, but we couldn't take a full class of individuals from the DC area. Like that just wouldn't get us to a geographic mix. So there is sort of that chance that, you may fall in a category where we get a ton of applications and it becomes a little bit more competitive for you. But if that is the case and you apply this year and don't get in, I strongly encourage you to continue applying in future years, because that mix of applicants will change each year. And I can tell you, like, honestly, like there were people who applied in the first year that didn't get in, but we took them the second year. So continuing to apply, really keeps your name in the pile and gives you an opportunity to join the program. In addition to sort of that curated mix, we also look at sort of how committed to success individuals are, both for themselves and their ability to help others in the class succeed. We look at the ability to contribute to the discussion. So what experiences and connections are they bringing to the conversation? Are they motivated and focused on advancing their career and leadership within their communities? And then what is their commitment to SABA? And that, again, we look at, how involved are you at the local level and the national level? And I will say that we don't just take people who are super, super heavily involved in SABA. SABA Leadership Institute is also an opportunity to bring in new people to SABA. So there have been people we have taken that, live in cities where there is no SABA chapter. And so they couldn't contribute at the local or national level. But this gives them an opportunity to get exposure to SABA and potentially get more involved in the future. So we look at that, but that is something that is balanced among the class as well. So hopefully that is helpful. And then the next question from Deb in the chat is, what has your experience been with the program being completely virtual? Having been a part of a couple virtual programs during the pandemic, I felt the personal connections were not as strong as they would have been in an in-person program.
I can
Who
take
wants
that.
to take? Okay, awesome.
So I think that SLI is the exception to the rule because I've been part of other virtual programs during the pandemic and did not get nearly the same experience from those as I did from SLI. And I think, you know, Priya and the folks who had the great idea to start this did it in a very purposeful way to make the class sizes small and make it so that, you know, it wasn't just the sessions. The mandatory sessions are important, sure, but the optional coffee breaks or the happy hours and the after class work that we did as small groups really developed connections that I have not gotten from other programs that are similar, to the point where, you know, I had never met most of my SLI class before SLI. I'd met none before, but I saw a number of them at the SABA conference this past summer, and it was like I knew them for years. And so I think that it was a unique program that really developed strong connections that I've not seen replicated in any other virtual program that I've been a part of.
Other thoughts on that?
Kind of jumping onto that one, I thought purposeful was great. I would say the way the program was set up very intentionally with the times in between the smaller happy hour, coffee chat, the group work, and then the full group meeting helps get across some of those barriers that other programs have had. And I'll say I've been in other in-person programs, but I probably am closer to more people here than I am in some of those in-person programs too. So there's pros and cons to both, but I think the intention behind this program has created a nice culture where you will feel personal connections through this program.
Dinesh or Saloni?
No, I agree with both of those guys. I think that you know, like I think like with anything, and this my lesson was like this will be as valuable as the work you put into it. So that like, you know, like I had some of those same concerns sort of going into it about like, would I really get a lot out of it being totally virtual? But if you commit yourself to like actively going to all of the sessions and participating in all the happy hours and optional events, I think you like there's plenty of opportunity to actually make those close connections.
Hello, you too, thank you.
I was just going to add that, you know, I think what made the program really effective in terms of personal connection is this kind of strict adherence to a safe space. And also, you know, what I appreciated is the program really focused on not just, you know, the professional and the lawyer, but the whole person. And, you know, through the culmination of the program, I think that with a lot of the fellows that I definitely had one-on-one, you know, discussions with and got to know personally, there was, you know, I developed a comfort level where I was able to, you know, be vulnerable and kind of share my capstone, you know, really kind of, which is an introspective, I thought, experience. And so I think that's what makes this different from other programs, like others have said that I've either attended virtually or in person.
Great. Well, we have a few minutes if others have questions that are on the line. But one question that I hope our fellows can answer for everyone and get on video. So when we share this, others can have it because it's a common question I've gotten via email, which is, did you have to get approval from your employer to participate? And what did you tell them about the program in order to get them to approve it?
So I did not get approval. I just did it because it was something that, you know, outside of professional, this is part of my development, whether the firm approved it or not. And now that I have been part of it, I can't imagine that they would not approve of it. But that's just my experience.
I can go next. I did talk to my manager directly. He and I have had conversations in the past about professional growth, development, leadership, what's out there, what program is the right fit. I'm looking through the application and pre-reads here. This seemed like a very natural fit to try to apply for, and the takeaways. And then I also emphasized how this program would help, myself and the company. What can I take back from here to help us as a business, as a team, as a department? So I would try to follow that kind of route as well.
And
Dinesh, did
just
you have to
from-
get approval at the government?
Yeah. So from the government attorney perspective, if any of you are in federal or state government and are interested in applying, I would just recommend you consult with your ethics office and ethics officer about, what their expectations are about getting approval. I actually had an interesting experience. We typically do have to get approval for like any outside activity, and it's not a big deal. It's just a form that we fill out with our supervisor, and then it gets takes a little time to get it fully approved. But just in the like once I got in, I just sort of consulted our ethics attorneys, and I found out that actually because it wasn't sort of an outside activity having to do with consulting or professional services or serving on a board or engaging in teaching or speaking, this was actually like in the category of things I actually didn't need to get prior approval for. So they advised me on that. They sorted it out. I've also been on the SABA board, and for which I actually had to get outside approval, and but this was interestingly like in the category of things I didn't actually need to get approval for. So I would just consult your ethics office. I know every agency probably has slightly different policies, and so I would just do that early on, and it shouldn't be a problem to get the proper approval.
Great, thank you. And I, for the record, did not get approval to start the program or be a part of the program from my employer, and nothing happened. So, I think really feel out what the situation is in your office, but I do know that there have been many fellows who have, like Abhiman shared, like actually made this part of their professional development through both work and personal. And we've had a lot of companies be really supportive of fellows participating in this program and sort of sharing that those fellows are participating, offering to provide sponsorship for the program. So we are seeing a lot of support for this program from employers. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions, and we are about 9 minutes from the top of the hour. So I'll just pose one last question to the 4 fellows we have on the screen right now, which is, what is one thing you wish you had known before you had been selected to the program?
Good question. I guess I wish I'd have known all the stuff I would have learned, if that's a cheap answer to get by. could have moved my career along a little bit quicker. I'm not sure if that's the right answer, but I'll just take it that way.
Yeah.
It's done so much for my professional journey, coming out of my shell of being uncomfortable, calling it self-promotion, or just trying to tell people where I want to go in my career. I've applied for roles that I probably wouldn't have applied for before, or put my name in the mix for other things. It's given me the confidence to do that, but also given me the skills on how to analyze problems or make the right communication moves or strategic networking. So looking forward to continue to use those lessons. And then with the capstone projects and looking through how do I want my career to evolve, really help put pen to paper and map out a lot of things that have helped me with my decision making since the program ended over a year and a half ago now.
Great. Saloni?
I would say that I kind of had no idea how many other South Asian lawyers there were across the country that had similar challenges, were at similar decision points, and were really just trying to find their way in a pretty, challenging and rigid profession. And so it was great to have that sense of community and belonging. And I thought what was also really interesting to learn is the skills and kind of the lessons we learned throughout the program are applicable to attorneys in-house, private practice, government, you know, or like myself as a neutral. And so I would, that's what I would say.
Great, Dinesh?
Yeah, just one concrete thing I would add is that, and I'm pretty sure we probably knew this before, but maybe I forgot or didn't prepare for it. But but people have alluded to it today that the mandatory sessions occur during work hours, like during 12, I think like 12 p.m. Eastern time or 9 a.m. Pacific time, wherever you are, and that I think they're obviously they're once a month. They don't take up a huge amount of time, but I think especially with all of us being in, I'm sure, very busy day-to-day jobs, you have to make sure you have it on your calendar and you know, and like the proper people on your team know that you're not going to be available like during that slice of time during the day.
Great. And I will say, we did not share that with fellows this early on in the process in previous years, but once you are selected, you will get a full list of all of the dates for the entire 8-month program. So you will be able to put those on your calendar, block that time, prepare people in advance that you will not be available to them during those times. We say mandatory for the leadership development sessions. We ask you to sign a commitment that you will be at all of those, but we also understand that we are all very busy. We are lawyers. Part of our schedule is not dictated by us. So there are individuals who have had to miss sessions because they were in trial, or they had like a big retreat that couldn't be rescheduled because it was for the whole company and it was mandatory for their job. We've had people had to miss those because of, family emergencies or deaths in the family. So there is flexibility, but we do encourage that those be put on everyone's calendar, and to the extent they cannot miss them, they don't, because, we're bringing in experts that, we pay to bring in for this program, and we want all of you to get that education. And we're also bringing in mentors who are giving up their time, who are all very, very, very busy people too. And so we just want to be respectful of everyone's time that is contributing to the program, and also just to be respectful for your co-fellows' times as well, because the sessions are much more rich and robust when everyone is there and participating. So Raghav, I will give you sort of the last word on what you wish you had known before you were selected for the program.
I wish I would have known how impactful it would have been. I definitely put in time to the sessions and the after work. I wish I would have put in more time, because I think I would have gotten even more. Like, I think that my career has absolutely changed. My trajectory at my firm has changed for the better. And I wonder if I could have done more and gone even farther and, been willing to take big risks like, Priya has done and others in my class have done. So the other thing that I'll close with is you can learn a lot from your peers. And so make sure that you are listening from them and understanding how what they are going through is directly applicable to you, even though, they're not in the same type of employer, same, level of experience, all of that. You can learn so much from the others in your class.
Wonderful. And I think that is a really great way to end it, Raghav, because what we hoped would come from this program was really cohorts of mid-career attorneys that can be there and support each other and really be cheerleaders for each other for the next 15, 20, 25 years of our careers. And I just want to say thank you to all the fellows who gave up time this evening to share their experiences. For those of you that are listening in and asking questions, please know I did not pay any of them to say nice things about this program. That all came from them. But I will reiterate again, I have seen so much sort of in my own experience in developing and participating as a fellow in the class of 2021 change within myself and how I look at the world. And I really hope that you will consider applying and that we will get a class of 20 qualified people that can go through this program and have that same experience for themselves. Many individuals put their emails in the chat, so please feel free to reach out to them if you have questions. My email is all over everything related to SLI, so please feel free to reach out to me if you still have questions after this session. I'm happy to talk with you. But again, the deadline will be the end of October for applications, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all as fellows someday. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.